Before the tragedy everyone remembers,
Do you believe that this is a misadventure?
Ray Emery was the underdog that the hockey world rallied behind. He played with edge, lived with passion, and made people care in a way goalies rarely do.
He's worked himself back into excellent condition, and he's ready to restart his career.
This is the rise that made him unforgettable, the journey that built the legend taken too soon. And it all began long before the NHL ever knew his name.
He's probably the first and only goalie I've ever been petrified of when I first came in the league.
Ray Emery's road didn't start with promise. It started with closed doors. At 16, he was cut from 8 junior teams in a row, each one telling him that he didn't fit, didn't belong, and wouldn't make it. For most kids, that would have been the end. For Emery, it was the beginning. A small junior C team called the Dunnville Terriers finally gave him a spot, and he turned heads by winning Rookie of the Year. Soon, the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds brought him into the OHL, where he built a reputation unlike any other goalie in the league. He was talented, but he was also bold, loud, and completely fearless. He challenged shooters, he chirped players, and when things got physical, he never stepped back. In his final junior season, he won the OHL Goaltender of the Year award with 33 wins. Ray Emery didn't just want to make the NHL, he wanted to kick the door open. Ottawa noticed the intensity. They drafted him 99th overall in 2001, a middle-round pick on a goalie with unusual electricity. In the AHL, he became an all-star and team MVP as a rookie. But the same aggression that made him dominant sometimes burned a little too hot. He earned multiple suspensions, including one after he retaliated against a slur. He refused to be silent. He refused to shrink. Emery competed with full emotion, and it showed. His NHL chance arrived in 2005, and he sprinted into the spotlight. With Dominik Hasek injured, Emery stepped in and won 9 straight games, setting a league record for a rookie goalie. Suddenly, the guy nobody wanted a few years ago was carrying the Ottawa Senators toward playoff success. By 2007, Emery pushed Ottawa all the way to the Stanley Cup final, the franchise's first modern-era appearance. He became one of the most recognizable personalities in the league. Sharp reflexes, steady nerves, and an unmistakable edge made him must-watch hockey. But the moment that defined his persona came during a massive brawl against Buffalo. Emery dropped his glove, fought goalie Martin Biron, and then immediately squared up with enforcer Andrew Peters. He racked up 22 penalty minutes in one sequence and earned the nickname Sugar Ray. And yet, beneath the flash and the lights, teammates adored him. They said he lit up rooms, backed everyone up, and made even the hardest practices fun. Fans didn't just cheer for the wins, they loved the spirit of the guy who played like a heavyweight boxer. Ray Emery rose to stardom through sheer force of personality and will. And that same drive, it's about to lead him into a darker chapter. The first cracks appeared during the 2006-07 season, right when he was becoming a full-time starter. During a heated game against Montreal, Emery slashed Maxime Lapierre across the face during a scrum, earning a 3-game suspension. It was the first public sign that his intensity could flip from asset to liability in an instant.
I feel bad that I cost my team a goal as well, so a little mistake by me.
But the real storms came away from the rink. In early 2007, a road incident turned into national news. A 65-year-old driver claimed Emery cut him off at high speed, jumped out of his Hummer, and started making threatening gestures. Police investigated and later dropped the case, but the headline stuck, and that was only the start. His driving habits attracted constant attention. He missed a team flight after a minor car crash. He piled up speeding tickets. His Hummer got pulled over repeatedly and was eventually impounded. The stories kept coming. One day it was a missed practice. Another day it was an argument with a teammate. Another day it was a shouting match at training. Inside the Senators' locker room, the atmosphere grew tense. Emery could still deliver strong games, but the distractions were no longer small incidents. They were patterns. But just one season later, in 2007-08, Ottawa's management had reached a breaking point. His tardiness became a talking point on sports radio. Coaches questioned his focus. And after the team's playoff exit, the Senators made a decision that sent shockwaves across the league. The Senators bought him out of his contract. He had gone from Stanley Cup finalist to free agent with no takers in a single year. The goalie who clawed his way into the NHL now had to scrap to stay in it. When no NHL team stepped forward, Emery headed overseas to the KHL, signing with the Atlanta Moscow. But instead of a fresh start, his short stay in Russia only fueled the reputation of his instability. After one game, a trainer tried placing a sponsor's hat on Emery's head for a post-game ceremony. Emery snapped. Cameras caught him punching the trainer, chasing him down a hallway, and needing to be restrained. The clip went viral worldwide. His name was suddenly trending for all the wrong reasons. Media outlets labeled it an assault. Commentators wondered if his career was spiraling beyond repair. Emery was no longer seen as the favorite. He was being talked about as a problem, a risk. By 2008, he was stuck in limbo. Too talented to ignore, too volatile to trust. Everything pointed toward a harsh ending. Just when it looked like Ray Emery's career had collapsed under the weight of controversy, something far worse arrived. Not a suspension, not an argument, not a headline. Something he couldn't outskate, outpunch, or outwork. Pain. And that is where the comeback begins. In 2010, during his run with the Philadelphia Flyers, Emery began feeling something was wrong deep inside his hip. Tests revealed a diagnosis almost unheard of in hockey: a vascular necrosis, a condition that kills bone tissue from the inside out. It was the same injury that destroyed Bo Jackson's career. Doctors warned Emery that skating again might be impossible. Playing in the NHL again sounded like a fantasy. This wasn't a rivalry or a contract dispute. It was a war against his own anatomy, and the odds were ugly. The surgery he needed was brutal. Surgeons had to take bone from one part of his hip and graft it into his hip to replace dead tissue. The recovery was long, months of rehab, months of walking before skating, months of feeling like everything he had built might disappear forever. But Emery approached rehab with a different attitude than people expected. Instead of frustration, he focused on routine. Instead of complaining, he focused on progress. Day after day, he rebuilt himself piece by piece. Trainers said he pushed through drills that most athletes would quit halfway through. He was determined to earn another chance, even if that chance felt miles away. By 2011, the opportunity finally came. The Anaheim Ducks offered him a contract, and Emery stepped back onto NHL ice for the first time since the surgery. What happened next stunned the entire league. He didn't look rusty. He looked sharp, confident, steady. Emery won his first 6 starts with Anaheim. His record climbed to 7-2-0, and suddenly the Ducks were a playoff threat again. The same goalie many believed would ever return was winning games against the league's best. Writers took notice, coaches took notice, and soon the league itself recognized what he had done. Emery became a finalist for the Bill Masterson Trophy, awarded to players who show outstanding perseverance. It was the exact acknowledgement his resilience deserved. But Emery was far from finished. Later that year, the Chicago Blackhawks signed him as Corey Crawford's backup. The fit was perfect, and almost immediately, he proved it. In the 2012-13 season, he made NHL history again by starting the year 12-0-0, the best undefeated start ever recorded by a goalie. It wasn't just a comeback, it was domination. That season became a career high, a 1.94 goals against average, a 17-1-0 record, a share of the William M. Jennings Trophy with Crawford for allowing the fewest goals in the league. And then came the moment every hockey player dreams about, the Stanley Cup. When the Chicago Blackhawks won it in 2013, Ray Emery lifted the cup with both hands. The man once labeled a problem was suddenly the most loved player on the ice, smiling with the same joy he had as a teenager fighting for a roster spot. His journey had taken him from controversy to career-ending diagnosis to NHL champion. Not because he was the biggest name, not because he had the cleanest history, but because he refused to let his story end before he rewrote it. This was not a return. This was a resurrection. And yet, the final chapter of Ray Emery's life would arrive in a moment no one could prepare for. There was no spotlight, no game, no warning, just a quiet morning, a simple plan among friends, and a decision that changed everything. There was one question the hockey world couldn't shake. How did a man who survived every storm of his life lose everything in the calmest moment he'd had in years? On July 15, 2018, Emery joined a small group at the Royal Hamilton Yacht Club. It was early, calm, and warm enough that the water looked inviting. He had spent the night before catching up with friends he had known for years. The atmosphere was relaxed. Nothing suggested danger. Around dawn, Emery stepped off a boat for a short swim. He was close to shore, close to friends, and close to the spot where he had spent parts of his childhood. It was the kind of moment people take for granted, the kind that never feels risky. But within seconds, something went wrong beneath the surface. He didn't return to the side of the boat. His friends first noticed the silence, then the stillness of the water. What started as a casual swim instantly became a frantic search. Calls for help went out. Panic spread across the dock. Police and rescue teams arrived fast, launching divers into the harbors. For hours, they combed the area, but visibility was low, and the water was dark. Emery's friends waited on the pier, watching the search with faces full of disbelief. Divers finally located him about 20 yards away from where he went under. Authorities ruled out foul play, no crime, no conflict, no hidden motive. The inspector gave the official explanation: misadventure, a tragic accident. A moment where nature simply didn't bend, taking a legend far too soon. News spread across Canada in seconds. The hockey world reacted in waves. Reporters who had covered his career found themselves unable to process it. Former teammates struggled to speak. Coaches paused interviews to regain their composure. After all the storms he had lived through, it was calm water that claimed him.
So it hits the hockey world pretty hard, and we're all devastated.
People who knew him personally shared memories that had nothing to do with the rink. And this is why he was so loved. They talked about pure generosity, about the way he brought people together, about the attention he gave to anyone who crossed his path. Memories surfaced about small acts no one had heard before. Gestures that revealed how he treated people when the cameras were nowhere near him. He passed highlighting something deeper. Emery had spent years rebuilding his life, finding steadiness, and crafting a new version of himself. He wasn't at a crossroads anymore. He was settled, grounded, and looking forward. Losing the most loved goalie in the league at just 35 didn't just hurt, it felt like he was taken way too soon. Organizations he once played for released statements with careful, heavy wording. Ottawa spoke of gratitude for the years he gave them. Chicago remembered the championship run and the presence he brought into their room. Former teammates posted messages filled with stories that only insiders would know, the kind of memories that showed how much space he held in their world. His story closes with loss, but it also leaves a mark that can't fade. Not because of what he achieved, but because of the way his journey shifted at every turn. There was no single version of him. He reinvented himself multiple times, rising and falling and rising again. His end came without a signal, but the life he lived will always stand on its own. Some lives echo long after the final moment, and this is one of them. The reflections, the stories, and the people still talking about him prove that time doesn't erase a legacy built on real experiences. If you want to hear more stories that stay with you long after the video ends, hit subscribe right now. Otherwise, I'm just out here talking to myself like some spare parts narrator. And if you want to be a part of this channel in a real way, join the crew. We'll save your seat, unless you're too busy Googling what a membership button looks like. Figure it out.